What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Surf and Sales Podcast. I'm Scott Leese, co-founder of the Surf and Sales Summit and the Surf and Sales Podcast, along with my good friend, Richard Harris, wearing his fancy, very professional and kind of like old school Navy looking hat.
Yes.
S.A.D.N.E.S.S. What's going on, Richard?
I am full of sadness today. Super full of sadness. I couldn't be more fucking depressed than I am. I mean, I think I upped my medications just for this show.
Just to get ready.
Just to get ready. Just to.
It's like the pre-workout. It's like
right,
the pre-workout stuff before you go to the gym. You remember the gym, right, Richard?
Barely. So
vaguely remember that, Jim.
We're super stoked to be here with our friends Ben Gould and Corporate Bro, Mr. Ross Pomerantz. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's it. Pomerantz.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
The writers, producers, actor, creators of S.A.D.N.E.S.S, and they also do some work, I suppose. Ben works with Bravado. Ross runs his own business, does some work with Bravado, does some stuff with Scratchpad, and the whole Corporate Bro brand social media takeover stuff. But before we get to talking to them, Richard is going to talk to us a little bit about our sponsors, HubSpot, and what they've got cooking.
Yeah, and this is actually a question for Ben. So Ben, can you tell me what Reese Witherspoon, Derek Jeter, and Corporate Bro do not have in common?
One doesn't have success.
Yeah, one has all the sadness of those three.
There you go. Well, that's partially true. What's really true is that Reese Witherspoon and Derek Jeter are actually speaking at HubSpot inbound. And I think Corporate Bro's invitation got lost in the mail. May have been snail mail. I'm not sure. So we'll have to see. We'll talk to our friends over at HubSpot. But seriously, thank you guys for being here. And thank you to HubSpot for hosting us and supporting the sales community. They bring a lot of sales are dope support to the community as a whole. And we want to make sure that people know to go check out Inbound. It is actually going to be in September of this year, September 5th through 8th in the glorious city of Boston. I know that Ben is apparently a big Boston fan, even after Game 7. So please go check them out. Please go see it. I know they're going to have some stuff online as well. They've got a huge set of speakers: Reese Witherspoon, Andrew Huberman, Steve Bartlett, Guy Ratz, Kim Scott, Damesh Shah, Yamini Rangan, Brian Halligan. There is no Richard Harris, Scott Leese, Ben Gould, or Corporate Bro on that list. So we apologize in advance. But
I was going to say, a fun fact, I am talking to them about speaking in inbound. So we'll see. We will see if I make the cut or not. But
what a humble brag. I thought for sure he was going to say, well, fun fact, I am actually speaking to Reese.
I was going to say I'm dating Reese. But
that was the part that I thought he'd say, or even dating Derek Jeter. I
was going to say Jeets might be more impressive.
Yeah.
Gift basket.
Let's kick everything off by telling people who don't know. Tell us about Sales Are Dope. What's the show all about? Where can people find it? And what have the results been for you guys so far in your mind?
Take it away, Ben.
Well, Sales Are Dope is a labor of love, years in the making. It is a comedy series, 8-episode comedy series that you can find on YouTube. S.A.D. Sales Are Dope. It is about a small sales team at a small startup, about a Series A, Series B startup that sells a product no one really knows what it is. And we just kind of get into the hijinks of what it's like to work in sales at a small tech startup, starring yours truly, Ross Pomerantz, Corporate Bro, Corporate Natalie. And, it's really about the West team competing against the East team to get a higher number. But more than that, take give salespeople something to laugh at, and give people that don't know the world of sales, bring them into the world of sales and kind of explain what it is we all go through, what sadness means, what sales are dope, never ever stop selling truly means. And yeah, we filmed it last.
And Ross,
Yeah.
Yes.
can you please get Ben to work on his elevator pitch? Because seriously,
Yeah.
that was
I
fucking
mean,
long as shit.
I mean, you know,
I mean,
Cut all that.
yeah. I mean, it's
no, I'm
about
not cutting it. Why would we cut that?
it's too good. It's too good.
I mean, that was as good as there's an episode, I can't remember which one, where the new SDR is doing the role play with the new manager, and the manager's just, beating her up, verbally, like a horrible customer, and she's freaking out. And then the manager says she did a great job.
Yeah.
That feels exactly like that scene. I don't know what episode that was, but
Episode 3, S.A.D.N.E.S.S.
Is this your way? Is this your way of applying for season 2, a role in season 2, Richard, as like the
Scott,
old school trainer who comes in?
Dude, I sent that email to Ross about 5 or 6 years ago saying we need an old white guy to make fun of in their 40s, or I don't even know if Ross remembers.
I'm shocked it's never. I'm really shocked it never made the cut.
Well, that's
It did make the cut in season 2. There's a whole episode about it.
Well,
Fister runs into Fister's old nemesis, comes in to train the team, and he doesn't realize that it's his old nemesis is the sales trainer, and there's like a huge rivalry in the office. He gets all jealous.
That's
one of the questions that I got asked about your show was, is there going to be a season 2, a season 3? Where does it go from here? Can you talk about what that world is like for those of us who don't know? Like, what do you have to get in terms of results on YouTube to trigger XYZ thing to get attention from, whatever the next level is, like Netflix or something like that? What do those milestones look like?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could.
Pluto's the next step for them, not Netflix. They got.
I mean, I wish there were milestones that mattered. It really comes down to selling and networking your way to the right person. I mean, it's the classic. You'd say it coming up as an athlete. You're just like, I don't need all the eyes. I just need the right eyes to see me and give me a chance. It's the same thing here. Obviously, there's like the undeniable aspect of, let's just say this had blown up and gotten 10 million views in like a few weeks or something and became kind of a cultural phenomenon. I mean, that is the 0.1 of the 0.1% of that happening. The truth is, we didn't put any dollars behind marketing and post-production, kind of like PR marketing type stuff. We decided that all the money we were going to spend was going to go into the creative itself. And the hope was just simply, if we can get it in front of the right person, we'll get a chance. And of course, now there's a writer's strike, which is not helping. So, conversations are happening. They're happening very slowly. It's getting people to sit down and watch the show has always been the problem for us. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. But like, even for 9 minutes to watch the first episode, I lost it. Thank God. You're not just competing with people watching on Netflix. You're competing with anybody's time in their life to make a decision to say, I'm going to sit down and give this a chance. And I think for us, YouTube, while it made the most sense as a platform, most people find our stuff on LinkedIn and Instagram and social platforms where they can scroll really quickly and get there. People go home at night, then they watch Netflix and they're like, what should we watch? They don't think, let's watch Sales Are Dope, because then we have to go to YouTube and cast it on the screen or watch it on a desktop. It doesn't like, it's selling. It's like the 80th touch point where they're finally going to watch it. So, it is, I have a rep in LA, where I'm basically putting together a season 2, what they call it Bible, that he can then pitch out and take to streaming execs. They won't take meetings with anybody if you're not repped. Like, it's all very tight knit, very closed door. You have to know someone who knows someone or have plain and simple a rep. Of course, then there's the other side.
Strike too.
Right. They won't, we can't even get additional writers if we wanted to. Or if Netflix wanted to buy it and co-develop it with us, they couldn't give us writers or even really producers right now, because producers can't work with writers and writers won't work. Rightfully so, for a million reasons. But, then there's the other side for us, which is interesting, is the branded side. Maybe there's a Salesforce or a HubSpot or a Google that wants to go into the content game and say, hey, why don't we put money behind this? The question then becomes for us is, how much creative control do they want, and how vanilla do they want this to be? Like, how edgy can we remain without losing the essence of the story? So there's those questions too. So these things are all happening. They just happen very slowly. There is no metric all the way to go back to say, what's the milestone? Again, barring some sort of cultural phenomenon where it takes over the internet, which obviously didn't happen.
I have two questions. My first question is, how do you negotiate with yourself as a writer, since you are the writer? Like, do you battles? But that's, rhetorical. The other question is,
I'll tell you, we paid ourselves $0.
right.
Yeah. That's how we negotiate.
You fall in line. You're the
poor negotiators.
Right. There's no commission for you.
$0.
As I've watched the show and I know you and I've seen what else is out there, do you really think they would vanilla it down, or do you think they would vanilla it down because they, through no fault of their own, they're not in the content game, right? So they have to be mindful of their corporate brand, right? It's
of course, it's a PR nightmare potentially. I mean, there's a reason, it's very funny. It's a very interesting world that we're in with social media, because we get and obviously this is a touchy subject, but we get shit on for not having more more diverse representation in our sketches. And it's these are friends and family who are working on these sketches. This isn't a production where we can go out and make deliberate hires for people. But a company that wants to work with us has to think about that. It's not to say it's not a reasonable thought, but people are coming after us yo, I don't know, my brother's the manager. I don't know, my cousin's the SDR. Sorry, this is what we look like. But these brands have to, in the show, Corp rails a line of cocaine. They're probably not going to want that. Right? Is that true?
Right.
Is that happening? Is the first 45 seconds, is there a dick joke? Yeah, there is. And that's a joke I wish I could rewrite candidly, because I know it was a little cheap, but they have to think about those types of things. And that's just the reality we live in. Comedy is a very difficult craft to do right now and not get yourself in trouble.
And I think what Ross is saying too, there's definitely things that, we don't need Corporate Bro to rail a line of cocaine in an episode. We don't need necessarily to have a dick joke. There's plenty of other things that we can make fun of and write funny jokes for. But there have been experiences in the past where we've worked with companies who contact us, hire us. They know what Corporate Bro is and represents. They want something edgy. And then when they get it, it's oh, wait, but not this edgy. Can you tone it down actually a little bit? And so it's they want something from the outside. And then once it's ready to present and post and here it is, there's a little bit of a fear sometimes with some companies that we've seen a lot. And so, that'll be something that we'll have to really take into account. There'll have to be trust in the relationship with whatever, company, if we go that route of a more branded, sponsored, branded funded show for season 2. I think a lot of it will have to be trust and have a strong relationship with that company, so that after we film it, they can't say all these things that were approved in the script you can no longer do.
We'll leave all the Bud Light jokes out for now.
Yeah, I mean, fun fact, we lost almost all of our sponsors for the premiere, within a week of the show, of us showing it, because they watched the first episode and pulled out. So I don't want to put them on blast, but I dream of the day I get to. But Bravado and Scratchpad, they were go make whatever you want. We know you're going to tell the story. We're going to stand behind it creatively. If anybody watches our show and thinks we have some sort of intent to offend, that's the problem nowadays, is people don't assume best intent. They're going to look for a problem. If they want to go find a problem in our, show, go, yeah, by all means, you'll find one. There's many problems in the show. So
I'm sure that there's other people now who are thinking about doing something similar, their own spinoff. People are getting more and more creative just in their content creation. I have no idea, so I want to ask this question. How much does it cost to produce something like this? Are you willing to talk about that? Give us a scope of
our budget was $463,000. That's what it was laid out as, line item by line item, to do 90 minutes of content, effectively a feature film. That being said, we called in every favor we possibly could. It ended up running closer to 5, mostly because I was I don't know if we'll ever get this. majority funded by Bravado and Scratchpad, and then the rest by me and Corp Bro. And I just didn't want to leave anything on the table and regret not spending an extra. It's random things. Hey, we need to recolor this. Hey, do we want to put this thing in? We need to go back and pay this person to do these things. And it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna.
Well, if you're 480 in, who cares about going to 485?
Exactly. And it's like, I don't want to leave anything on the table. If like throwing a few more $1,000 here, there, like it adds up for sure. But we just didn't want to leave anything on the table and regret it. Given there's a world where we never get to do this again.
I mean, that's super helpful for me. You're looking at like a $500,000 project. So for all these other content creators who are out there and like, I could do something like that. It's like, it's a little more involved than grabbing your iPhone and filming yourself.
It took us 3 years. We also shot a pilot in 2019 that was absolutely dog shit. And that was $40,000 and over budget. I could like your everyday content creator go out and do this. It's not that easy. They could do it. I mean, I think if we can do it, anybody can do it. It just took us 3 years to do. It took a lot of meetings. It took a lot of pushing and a lot of frankly like dreaming about it. I mean, we just like that was always the goal. Like this was the destination. And so, we can say we've kind of lived our dream at this point, but of course now you live it. Now you want more. You want to do it again. You want to do it bigger. You want to do it better. Like I said, we called in all the favors. We didn't pay me. We didn't pay Raj or Ben or Natalie. Like we were paying our actors, kind of what working, I don't know what you call it, non-union kind of like
it was all
averages, which is nothing.
Right.
We got the bar for free. Like we called in every favor to make it happen, and so if we were to do it again, it'll probably cost double or triple realistically. We shot 4 weeks in LA, 3 days in San Francisco. We had one location. The cost is these permits, moving cameras, like getting food and drinks to different various locations. Like there's so many more costs. We were just very fortunate. We got this super cheap office because everybody left it from pandemic and they were trying to like get anybody in it.
Office was a third of the price.
And so, we got really lucky in the timing, but that won't happen again. And we want to do other things. We want to show Corp and Raj going on site to a company. We want to show people outside the office and these characters expand who they are as people, but we can't really do that without additional locations and additional funds. I mean, money is everything in this game and it just buys you time. It buys you time and it buys you opportunities. And, so if we were to do it again, we would need to probably double our budget.
So it's funny because I have this partner. We've created 300 and something episodes of YouTube, and I think our budget for production on our YouTube's about $1,000 total. Yeah. Scott's the one who doesn't let us spend money. But I have a question, sort of pulling out of this, which is
way to go, Scott. You're not here, but
that's all right. That's the best part for people. Scott had to step off camera for 1,000 reasons, but
I was just off camera, but I could hear Richard talking shit about me.
Talk about your cheap $1,000 YouTube videos. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I'll tell you, we don't have budget for anything else.
That's one of the. I mean, I was curious about that, the actual cost, and part of it was, I'm thinking about companies like Bravado or Scratchpad who like participated and whatnot, because there's an element, I would think, of influencer marketing kind of behind that, and they're hoping to drive awareness to their brands.
Totally.
And you represent Bravado to some extent, if not all the way. Talk to everybody a little bit about, influencer marketing and its effectiveness in terms of driving outcomes for the brands themselves, not for the creators, because Richard will happily take $250. And if anybody wants him to represent them, wear a hat on camera.
Yeah,
it's not true. You need at least 300 in this day and age. There's inflation.
I'll take $99 at this point.
Yeah,
I think the ironic thing too is that we can, film a 15-second, TikTok that has 0 money put into it and 30 minutes put into it, and it can get 100 times the views that the show will get, or an episode specifically of the show will get, so we can spend all this time and money on the show that, has more substance. It is better than anything else we've ever done. But the ironic thing is the reach from these like tiny little lowly produced videos, can be so much higher on these other platforms, which is kind of like an ironic little tidbit
Yeah.
of just where the state of content is today.
I mean, Scott, to answer your question about influencer marketing, I absolutely hate the word influencer. I can't stand it. I hate being called an influencer. To me, it's demeaning. And for me personally, because I like to believe, and this is purely out of ego and arrogance, but that what we do is far more dense and intelligent and thoughtful than what influencers do. Influencers post pictures of themselves with their cups of coffee at a local, like they got a free cup of coffee and they like post about it, or they do these super transactional, videos, one-off type things. And it's there. People are just, is it effective? I mean, it's probably more effective now than like more traditional ads, mostly because they know these people have audiences and therefore people are watching it, not expecting an ad. So you can catch them off guard with an ad more easily. And then they've watched it and they're like, oh, fuck, man. Nobody likes an ad regardless of where it comes from. I think companies are just pouring money into influencer marketing because it hasn't been saturated yet with enough ads that people just stop watching influencers, content creators altogether. For me personally, I turned down the majority of brand stuff because it's all mercenary shit. It's, hey, 2 videos here. Can we get 1 video there? What if we do 1 video and then maybe scale it into more if it like performs well? Like I fucking hate that shit. I want to work with companies that want to make bigger pieces of content and tell stories and work on compelling, disruptive, like different stuff that has more weight to it and more thought to it. The transactional thing for me, I'm heavily moving away from. I want to do more sales or dope. I want to do docuseries. I want to do like reality type stuff, emceeing, hosting types of things. I don't want to work with brands that are like, hey, like we have this coffee, like we'll give you $3 a pop if for everyone you sell. Like I'm just absolutely not. So I don't think most influencers think that way. They just want money at all costs. They're going to post. They don't give a shit. Then they'll go back to posting their other content. They just fill it in with ads. Like I just principally hate that.
But the brands themselves, the vendors want and need something. I mean, they're trying to drive eyeballs and awareness,
right?
And ultimately create opportunities, lead flow, all this kind of stuff. So it has to be working either on the transactional front, like you're talking about and raging against.
Yeah.
Those maybe are working, maybe not. Maybe it's new enough that they're just trying it. And then
no, I think it is working.
Term, it is working.
I think it's working.
Yeah. So we can hate it, but it's still potentially kind of working. And then there's the longer, more involved play like you're talking about. But that still has to yield returns for the companies to participate.
Totally.
Right. And so I was just curious, like that thought process from both sides and how to find like the right marriage and partnership there.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's people who will do any and all. That's not to say I won't do them, but they have to be companies that I believe in like I just won't do a laundry detergent, and I'm not going to do like a morning oats. Like I'm not going to do these random kind of like B2C things. And even a lot of B2B things, I'm like, I don't necessarily believe you're any different than X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to put I like to budget my social capital as well as I can. And when I say and endorse something, I actually like mean it. And I think I like to believe that tends to come through when I do it, but I'm sure, for people who don't know and haven't been around for a long time, it's all just an ad to them. So I know it can be effective just because, again, viewers are watching them expecting the content they're used to, and you can sneak an ad in there versus like everyone's going to fast forward when there's ads, on TV when they can. Right?
I think it's also more sustainable, for a content creator to be more selective and to make more highly produced, high quality stuff for brands like the show. And I think another thing that companies might say, in a marketing department is, oh, we paid influencer X to make this TikTok for us. It has 1 million views. That sounds great. We got this brand awareness. We have this social awareness. Our brand was viewed by 1 million people. Maybe they did. Maybe it is working translating into sales in some sense. But I think it's also those views on TikTok and whatnot can be so inflated and just go so high that they view it's almost like the growth at all costs, user at all costs mindset that tech was in 5 years ago versus sustainable profitability that it feels like it's moving into today. And maybe that will translate to content in the next 5 years as well. I don't know.
This is all fascinating and deep. I had no idea we were going to go down this influencer role. Although it makes sense because Scott's much more strategic than I am. I have a question, and maybe if you've told the story 1,000 times, just to say, Richard, go fucking Google it. But how did you two hook up to do this?
Yeah.
How do y'all know each other? What's your origin story?
I was working at S.A.D.N.E.S S, I think, as a salesperson. I've been in sales, in tech sales at Yelp and S.A.D.N.E.S, and I was like really itching to create more and write more. And I had written like a little comedy blog thing in college, and I was like, I want to do that as an adult somehow. So I'd been writing stuff, just kind of wanting to be ready for an opportunity whenever it came up. And a lot of it was like comedic kind of sales and startup satire, and met Ross's cousin through a friend in San Francisco. He said Ross was looking for help. This was back in 2017. So almost 6 years this summer, and it was still early on, but I had seen some of the videos that he'd made. Yeah. And I'd seen some of the videos he'd made, and so it was kind of like the perfect thing. Sent him my stuff, and he was just looking for someone to film with on the weekend, someone else to help generate more ideas for sketches and whatnot. And we met for beers, and yeah, rest is history. Showed up to work on Saturday at 8 a.m. and we filmed. And that was, 6 years ago this summer. So
what shifting gears, right? How do you see, coming back to the influencer stuff, now getting really modern, and maybe this is too terrible, so Scott, interrupt me. How do you see influencers or AI affecting all this stuff that you do? Anything?
Yeah, massively.
totally replacing us.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's the long term what will happen. I can already put my voice from all my videos into a voice AI thing and have myself speak Mandarin, fluently. I can have myself say anything I want. I can AI is going to get good enough that it can watch all my videos and then write its own sketch and put me in it, and my mouth will move and it will sound like me, and it may not be like as good as like I think someone was like, AI doesn't quite have, and I'm not saying we have this, like intent or genius as they call it, where there's like humor, so to speak. I think is going to be the hardest thing for it to do, but it doesn't mean you can't put a talking head of myself and make it me say something absolutely outrageous. I think that's why the writers are striking right now. They can generate, ChatGPT can generate thousands of ideas, and then you just take it and run with it. But it will get to a point where it can just take our bodies, it can create characters, it can create voices and sounds, and movies will be all AI generated, and we won't know the difference. That is the long term. I'm hoping that I'm long out of the game when that happens. But I do think that's where we'll go. That's, and that's what writers are fighting for right now. And execs are like, well, or we just replace you with AI.
I have a little bit more of an optimistic view, where I think of this example. There was like this AI or like computer robot coffee stand. It makes a perfect espresso.
Cafe X.
Perfect Cafe X. Yeah. And no one went to it. Everyone still went to the overpriced yet popular coffee shop across the street to be with other humans and get served by a real barista with, a little bit of a human touch. And I think like there's something to that there will certainly be people who just listen to the AI generated new Drake song or whatever, or that don't put any thought into that. But I think there will always be like, part of the reason you have content, that you consume content, is to have that human connection. And I think if it's all generated by AI, unless it's really fucking good, I think people will still lean towards and gravitate towards the stuff that's created by real human beings.
I think basically what Ben just said is we're all going to be working at Starbucks. Right? We're nothing more than a glorified barista.
I will see. I mean, it's going to change a lot over the next few years. I'm like interested in it from like a writing component. I mean, I think it can make everybody more efficient. It'll be, to me, as important as the iPhone was, just making humans far more efficient than they were before. It'll be something very similar to that. I just think the ceiling of where that goes is a little scary. Candidly.
This is the scene where Ross, aka Roy, is just basically saying, "We're nothing. We're shit. We're shit."
I get that comparison.
Bullshit.
Everyone compares me to him frequently, and I haven't watched the series yet. I need to go watch it.
I wasn't thinking of it in terms of a direct comparison to you. I was just like, yeah, we're nothing.
I get it
we're
a
shit.
lot.
He's telling the older brother Richard,
yeah,
we're nothing, dude.
Yeah.
We are nothing. We're all nothing at the end of the day, but you can be optimistic about it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I had a conversation yesterday, and we were talking about this AI. It aligns with what you're saying, is that a role that might exist is this, if you think about the SDR, is this sales prompt engineering role, where it's like someone's got to be able to type the right stuff into the AI, right? And even to that point where you go do it and you upload your voice and you do all these things and it examines all your episodes and it starts to write things. I think you're right. It helps create that creative, but then you still have to take that creative and put that human element back in. Right. And
for now,
hopefully the AI won't do, but even then you're going to have a different idea than what the machine is to a certain extent. And so your ideas hopefully will get better because you get better stuff out. So it's a real, the old school garbage in, garbage out thing, right? Now the garbage out's going to be a lot better, I think, in some ways, but there is still that human aspect. But all right, we got to stop here again for our sponsor, HubSpot, who we are more than happy to chat about. And I am curious if you guys if you haven't checked out the HubSpot podcast network, they've got tons of great content, even for marketing. I know Ross doesn't like it.
I was looking at their network just yesterday.
That was Ross's sling blade, but for those who are old enough to remember, but one of our good friends, I know Ross and Ben, him, is John Barrows. He has his podcast on there called Make It Happen Mondays. Please check it out. Another good friend of ours, an actual attendee of the Surf and Sales event in November, Scott Barker, was on recently, and Scott is over at the Venture Capital Fund, GTM Fund, with our friend Max Altschuler, and talks about the experience and importance of creativity and connectivity, and the lack of foundational sales knowledge in that episode. So that is a fascinating episode, and we support John, who's a very, very good friend of ours. Also a Boston fan, Ben, who I was texting with yesterday, who was very, very upset, So anyway, we appreciate John. Sorry about the Celtics, sort of.
We didn't deserve it.
So, but anyway, so check out John Barrows' Make It Happen Mondays on the HubSpot Podcast Network, and don't forget about Inbound coming up in September of 2023. All right, Scott, ask some more and better questions than my boring AI stuff.
Well, this because we just got done promoting something. My question is, do you ever get promotion fatigue, Ross? Do you ever feel like, oh my God, I don't want to talk about the show anymore, but if I don't talk about the show, then nobody's going to watch the show? Or is that just me?
Not for the show.
Yeah, not for the show. I'll talk about the show all day long. I'm just always kind of tired. so the promotion thing, it's kind of a necessary evil at times, because if I'm not going to talk about it, then why would anyone else talk about it?
I find it hard to drum up the strength sometimes to talk about the shit that I do, though. It's just
totally.
like, I'm sick of hearing my own voice.
What you do, Scott, between what you do where you're being paid to promote, $250 every time you post, and what Ross is doing, which is his own content. If it's your own, I know you, Scott, when it's your own content.
I'm not talking about that shit, dude. I don't even like promoting the Surf and Sales Summit, or talking about Thursday night sales when I was running that, or GTM United,
one thing that helps
my consulting business. I hate it.
I can't tell you how many times I've talked to Scott and I'm like, what do you want people to do when they sponsor? Just give us money and we don't have to do anything? And
yes, that literally sounds absolutely perfect.
We all go to Costa Rica. Yeah.
That is the
Go
dream,
ahead, Ben.
isn't it?
I was gonna say one thing that helps me is really, mix up your elevator pitch, ramble, like keep going and just keep talking about it and just mix it up. And that way, you surprise yourself. You don't even know what you're saying half the time.
So be
And then,
less crisp and concise.
yes, ramble on.
Usually works.
This is the anti-advice. It'll probably work, to be honest with you.
I'm Greg from Succession.
Yeah.
He's not 6'12" though.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
What about this is a question for Ross? One of the things that you've done a great job of is diversifying yourself across platforms. You got a big presence on all these different platforms. Richard and I have sucked at this. I find it essentially all encompassing to even deal with one. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious how you have managed to juggle all of that. Do you have help with that? What is like the efficiency hack there?
Ben is my help. I don't even know. I think it's always just been like make a piece of content and just put it out on all of them.
Yeah, but don't you have to
That
edit
part's
everything?
easy though, but like,
Right.
don't you have to interact with everybody?
That's where
Yeah.
Ross has incredible energy resources that he just digs deep for. Like the interaction that Ross has with fans, I think is a huge reason why the Instagram page grew to what it was from the beginning. And that is the stuff that I'm like, I don't know how you muster up the energy for that kind of stuff. Like he's so good at that.
I don't know either, because I do that on LinkedIn, but I feel like it takes, all of my energy. So it's hard.
It takes a lot
100%.
of my energy. I'm the guy who's constantly criticized by friends and family for being on their phone too much. And it's mostly because I feel like this is a 24/7 job and I need to be like as aware and on top of things as I possibly can. I don't really know how I do it either. I think my belief is that if I interact with people, the parasocial like relationship with so many people, I treat every interaction like a chance to turn a fan into like a super fan, so that when they're talking about me behind my back and around in their friend group and their group text, that they're like, yeah, he's actually a pretty chill, like cool dude. He actually gave me an answer about this like career question. And like, I'm someone who doesn't like letting people down. I talk about this all the time in therapy. And I think sometimes it's better if I just were to not respond to people, because I'll engage with trolls. I'll go in on them. I'll say some really hurtful shit to them. I will put them in a body bag publicly, privately. And I need to not do that. I need to, because, that's the classic, just by acknowledging their existence, they win. And I'm like, or I put them in a body bag, metaphorically speaking, and I feel like I won, and yet I'm still mad the rest of the day. So like, I've lost a lot of days and a lot of productivity handling the ups and downs of like being a highly engaged creator. And I do think constantly about, I should stop. I should, but what if the next person, like I can convert the next person, I can change the next person, I can, and that will add up over time. I go back and forth on it frequently, but I still try to respond to most DMs.
I think the other interesting thing, especially for our fan base specifically, is it's salespeople who are their own breed of humans. And sometimes a negative comment is really just a salesperson like trying to get a dig in at you. And we make really kind of, edgy, harsh comedy, and, everyone's used to that in the sales pit, and it can be misinterpreted. And sometimes you just respond with a joke and they like your comment and they laugh, and you're like, oh, I was getting worked up about this seemingly negative comment on this video, and they were just joking with me. They just kind of want that interaction, want that attention. So, but even if it's a positive comment, that's also draining of energy too. And it's really tough. I mean, I think when we get to a point where we're on season 7 of the show, we do have that 8-figure, deal. Then we might be able to chill a little bit and not respond.
In
to every
season
comment,
7, in season 7, Ross actually has become Richard.
I've become Richard. Yeah.
Overweight, bald,
yeah.
trying to be relevant, right?
Taking
Thanks,
$250.
Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you.
I mean, I do think I have this like horrible curse, and this is like going to be the classic, what's your weakness? I care too much. It's going to be kind of like that. But I think success to me is feels so status quo. I don't get excited by success. I get relieved by success. I like have come to expect success. And if I'm not successful, then my day is ruined. Then I'm pissed. I am all fucked up in the head. I have a really hard time enjoying success and taking it as like a moment of, wow, that was really cool. We pulled that off. We did it. It's like, no, fuck that. Of course we did it. We were supposed to do it. That's what
That
we
sound
do.
familiar, Richard?
You know,
I'm sitting here and I'm like, Ross is everything and wiser when I was at his age, because I just want to fuck you to everybody and do stuff and try to be funny and all those things, but never had the balls to go do it. So
well, it comes out of
fuck the
pettiness.
therapy
For me.
shit.
It
I
comes
mean,
out of pettiness.
right? Like in therapy, Ross, is that voice in your head your mom's or your dad's, right?
I don't even know. It's
Because
Devil
you
Ross.
do. Oh yeah, there's a whole session for therapy right there. I acknowledge.
Yeah.
I can write your therapy appointments.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good and bad. It's good for ambition. It's good for pushing the limit and the envelope. But a lot of it is born. Like the reason I went to business school is so I could tell everybody, "Fuck you, I'm smarter than you." Like that is why I went. I was like, I'm going to study for 8 months. I'm going to take the GRE 5 times. I'm going to take enough Adderall to kill an elephant, and I'm going to go to business school because I'm sick of people thinking they're smarter than me. It was a very petty, stupid thing. Like I'm really glad I did. There's a million like wholesome reasons I'm glad I went and all those things. But it was born out of like I'm just fuck you. Like fuck you is kind of the mentality I do a lot of things by, unfortunately, or not. I'll get canceled for it, whatever. But like, you know, it's hard. It's hard for me. That's why I'm the success piece. I'm like, good, because that's what the goal is. Like I'm going to show you by being successful. And if I don't do that, then I'm a piece of shit. It's bad.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of that.
It's not healthy.
I'm not going to business school and I'm going to be more successful than all you people, right? And that's all my daddy issue shit. I know.
That's what people ask me. So why'd you go?
Right.
You really want to know why I went? Because I thought the people I was working with were dumb.
Right.
I went to grad school
hasn't
because
changed.
I didn't want to work. And
Yeah,
I thought,
and that's a great
this is like
reason
a
too.
socially acceptable way to not work yet. So I'm going to go to graduate school.
Exactly. And that's a great reason too. You know, if we really boil it down, it's like, I really wanted to learn some skills that I didn't have otherwise, which is true. It is true. But it was also other things too.
That's the essence of not like, hey, someone's going to pay me to do nothing. I'm going to go to school. They're going to pay my tuition. They're going to pay for my room and board. And I'm going to go fuck off and create a band and have a good time.
Yeah, that was the smartest thing that I ever did, was literally only go to a school that offered me athletic scholarships where I had to pay zero. And I know Ross played baseball, so he gets that. I could have gone to other places and I would have had to spend money. Maybe I would have had a bigger, better, crazier time or whatever. I didn't care. I'm like, you're going to pay for my school for free? Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Why not? Why not? I mean, my brother's got the famous quote in our family where he says he wants to be a stay-at-home dad with no kids. Like, like that's what he wants. That's his dream. That's his dream.
Like, that sound familiar?
That's kind of where I'm at. But except I have kids.
Right.
I kind of fucked that part up.
Yeah, that's an important part of his statement. That's a very important part of the statement.
I kind of screwed that part up.
I know you, Braden and Caleb. Your dad loves you. I know you. He has a hard time. But give him a hug.
Yeah,
they sacrifice things for
himself. They know that, but they know that. But I also need to remind them how miserable they've made me.
Yeah, yeah,
that's important as well.
Right,
build their character a little bit.
Right,
give them some daddy issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, at the end of our show, we always flip it around and say, "What can we do for you guys? Do you have any questions for us? Anything that you've been pondering and wanting some answers on? Any of that kind of stuff?"
Man, I don't know. What would you do if you were us trying to get this show out there? How would you guys think about it? What brands, any brands you would think about, any like ideas? I had this idea and I still am too much of a little bee to do it, but I was going to share the link to our show on LinkedIn and say, every person who reshares this in the next 24 hours, I will Venmo you $1. I think with a cap of like, I would put a cap on it so I don't go broke. I also think there's like a transaction limit on a Venmo. That's not the point. The point is like, I'm trying to think of other ways to, do it.
I'm probably not going to say anything that you haven't already thought of, but I might look at, this is going to sound absurd, but I might look line by line at everywhere I spent money of that 500 grand.
Yeah.
And you have an absolutely massive network. And I think you tapped your friends and family type network for help the first go around.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps you might want to consider this more like global community and network that you've built for yourself. And so if you go line by line of all these places that you had expenses, like food and beverage, for example, there's probably some fucking person in your LinkedIn network or Instagram following or whatever that runs a business and they're willing to like donate all of that. Or there's a furniture store seller somewhere who's like, I can get you, furniture and equipment. There's
right.
photographer people. I think so. I think I would basically expand upon my fundraise of friends and family to be my actual global network. And like, how can an actual community, the Corporate Bro community, literally be producers of season 2 and of the show in an effort to involve them, make them more passionate about it, and literally not spend money on stuff.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I was thinking about. That will come as no surprise to Richard because I'm the king of trying not to spend money.
I mean, seriously,
good way to be.
But I think that I'm right, and I think if you guys sat and thought about it, you'd be like, there's probably freaking thousands of people that love what we do and would love to support in some way. You could even go to them and say, who do you all know who might want to invest like $1,000 to $5,000 in this and do like a crowdfunding type of what do they call that? Kickstarter project or whatever. But you can do it through this like referral based partner selling thing type way that Ben, you and I had a conversation about the other day. I wonder if that could work. What do you think, Richard?
Well, I was going to come up with the really genius idea of him like walking around San Francisco with like a sandwich board on, right?
I've thought about that. I've thought about buying a billboard. They're very expensive, it turns out.
No, I meant the one you wear and you walk around, right? And get some of the twirlers, like
just be a sign spinner right on like Pump Presidio.
Right. At Dreamforce, you want to go market, you want to go guerrilla marketing and Benioff at Dreamforce, get some sign spinners, right? God, I would love that. Which actually theoretically isn't the worst idea in terms of just getting brand awareness out there and tons of shit.
I'm gonna be crashing Dreamforce, you bet.
Yeah, so that would be one thing. And again, probably
crashing
our friends at
HubSpot.
You should go do that at Inbound. So our sponsor. I think that's also you're going to get a lot of crazies, but asking the crowd and the community yourself, hey, everybody, I've come up with these ideas. What are 10 ideas? I'm going to run a contest and we're going to pick 3 and the winners each get $500 or something like that. And a cameo if we get season picked up, right? Like last year at Surf and Sales, we did a gator tank because there's these saltwater alligators, like
crocodiles. First of all,
right? And
they identify as crocodiles.
It was super cool because we were like, what are we going to do for content? How do we do more content and not actually have to do the work? And this is where Scott's genius always comes in. And the goal was everybody has to come and pitch a idea that makes $500,000 in a year. Was that it, right, Scott?
Yeah.
And everybody created their own. We went through a first round and we chose 3, and then we divided everybody up on those 3 teams. And I want to say 2 or 3 people have actually made them businesses, right? And so crowdsourcing this creative idea of like creatives, like, hey, everybody, and you could probably even go to your super fans, right? Like, who they are. I would gladly get on a Zoom call for an hour with you and 8 other people like me who would just let's whiteboard some shit. And sit back and let the creatives take over, right? Like we become your chat GPT, we become your
right,
help come up with ideas. And the worst thing that happens is we've already thought of it all and need to go find smarter people than us. So that's probably
if you need idea creation though, they need execution assistance.
But then, so you get
financial assistance. They need you to open your wallet and write $1 million check, Richard.
Well, of course they need.
Which we will repay in the next 4,000 years, I promise.
Dude, I can write a check with 6 zeros, as long as those zeros are left of the decimal point. Like, right? If they're on the left side, I can write that check. So, but to the point, Scott, this is where you would do this too, though, is you would go, okay, well, Richard's idea is cool, but let me double down on it because that's how much smarter I am than Richard. And you'd be like, okay, well, I got these 8 people. Now let me ask them who wants to help do it.
Well, that part's, I don't really ask that many people for ideas. I ask people for execution help.
Right. But it's different though. I'd be, but I know you because you're more strategic, right, than I am. And so for me, I would need that piece. And if Ross and Ben and the team over there are, are they running into, I don't know, you can't see the forest for the trees for an hour of their time to make them go, nope, we're still smarter than these fuckers. Like, let's go do it for free. Or, that's my suggestion. So, and it's free.
Love it. I like free stuff.
Maybe it's crocodile tank mixed with a dunk tank.
Right.
So you're sitting up there. And there's
bad
crocodiles
idea.
in the
We get to
dunk
throw
tank.
it and knock your ass in.
And then you get dropped in with the saltwater crocodile and have to make it out.
So
that's an
idea. Watch that.
Everyone would watch
I will watch that.
Yeah.
We would all watch that. It's
horrifying and awesome.
Sad commentary on humanity. We would all watch that.
Yeah.
I think we'd watch one episode maybe, and then quickly be like, I regret everything.
Yeah, I still can't figure out how
I'd binge it.
What's the warrior, the ninja warrior? I still don't know how that ninja warrior show is still on TV. I think it's crazy. So.
It's the world we live in. It's all reality now. It's all reality stuff. Love Island and American Ninja Warrior and all that stuff.
So, and sadly, we have to get back to reality, which is we've got to wrap this show up.
Thanks.
I could go for another 2 hours.
I have so many rants left.
Oh my God.
So many rants left.
So we can get back and do it again. I have another podcast called Sales Rants, so maybe you'll come on that one and do that.
Yeah, that would just be 60 minutes of Ross and Richard yelling into the microphone.
Screaming into the void.
Sweaty.
Yeah. And we appreciate you guys.
Bring a sweat.
We appreciate you guys spending some time with us. Tell everybody where they can find Sales Are Dope, how they can get connected and in contact with you guys if they have any way that they can help support you. Tell them where to find you.
Ben, you want to tighten that pitch up right now?
Sales Are Dope on YouTube. There's the playlist. Search Sales Are Dope on YouTube. Watch all 8 episodes 57 times in a row. You can find us at Corp Bro on Instagram, at Corp Bro, or Ross Pomerantz, or Ben Gould on LinkedIn, at Corp Bro on TikTok. I think that's basically it, right, Ross?
Basically it.
My cell phone is 617. I'll stop.
Do that all the time. I give out my cell phone number all the time. 415-596-9149. People,
he doesn't need 1,000 text messages with episode ideas.
He doesn't need that late night call I got from a little stranger the other
I'm
day.
really close to getting a new phone because my numbers in like Zoom info and other places, and I get texts all the time, but I might just actually put it out there and be like, text me your best ideas.
Just get a second phone.
But you can get a second
to
do that. But yeah, you could.
Baller. 2-phone guy.
I really want a second phone. That seems really cool.
You look so cool if you do
with
that.
one in each back pocket. Oh man, my cheeks will be looking fire.
There's episode 2 of season 2.
Yeah. Corp gets 2 phones. Feels pretty cool.
Corp hits quota. Yeah.
Because he has 2 phones, he hit quota. He can do 2 conversations at once.
Exactly.
Efficiency gain. It's an efficiency gain.
Ben, write this down.
You could have Natalie or Raj be the phone guy. You could make your own phone commercial. So selling you the plan. Wait, do I get screwed on this plan? Right? You're only to the new people. So all right, guys, this has been a pleasure. Sales Are Dope. Please check it out on YouTube. Please check out Ross Pomerantz, Corporate Bro, Ben Gould. You don't even have a name alternate personality, do you?
Risky.
Yeah, just Ben.
Just Ben. He's always
undrafted NBA free agent.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, fellas.
As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Always. Bye, guys.
Bye.